I keep hearing people say they're fine, but nothing about the way we're living says we're fine anymore. I mean, I think we're more tired now to where sleep can't fix it. Surrounded but alone, working harder, trusting less. Hi guys, Warren here, by the way. Good morning. Excuse the construction. I couldn't find a quiet spot. Inside wasn't working because I could hear it. And outside just feels better even though I can hear it. So just bear with me. I think it actually goes to the topic I want to talk about, which is just our systemic disillusionment. I mean, from being isolated but hyperconnected to emotional exhaustion, you name it. But I mean, sometimes I think this isn't new. It's not new at all. It's just louder now. It's just louder now. And in regard to isolation, I think people feel alone before they feel poor. And we're so hyper-connected, but yet I read and I hear about so many sad stories of people who think that they couldn't survive it anymore, and so they committed suicide. In a hyper-connected universe, we're still having people be so desolate and desperate, surrounded but unseen. And why is that? Why is that? I can take a guess. I think part of it is just that we have lost our humanity in terms of caring about the person to our left and right. And I know that sounds so superficial and cliche nowadays, but at its core, that is really community is really what we need, what we've lost. And we have all this noise without listening, right? All these talking heads, all these side pickers, inciters, I call them, of real anger, which perpetuates itself into danger. People get hurt emotionally and physically. People get hurt because there's so much noise and no one is doing any listening. We do this perfunctory listening where, and I'll take this closer to the community side, not so broad, but I mean, even in our communications these days, right? We do this perfunctory listening. It's, yep, sure. Yep, absolutely. And then you challenge them with a question from what you were talking about, and they look at you as if you got horns growing out of your head. I mean, there's enough noise and just not enough listening. And I think that in part just drives people into these isolated states to where they think taking their lives is the ultimate answer. Whole lot of commentary and no community. Everybody for themselves. I did an episode about speeding and being in a hurry and what is at risk, and I've honestly just stopped bumping my head against the wall worrying about it here in my neighborhood, because people still do it, even with a few safety measures in place. They still do it. I think it's just that there is no real community. There's a lot of talk about it, but there's no real community. A lot of commentary, though. A lot of people have a lot to say. And then you'd say, Warren, that's exactly what you're doing. And I would agree. But I've tried. I've done my share of trying to make my community better. And some people just refuse to. And I'm not even going to touch the political tensions and the side-taking and the rhetoric and the vitriol that goes on there. But every time I sit with this, the same question keeps coming back. What's going on? Here's the thing, too. Again, Warren's opinion. I think once we're alone, that exhaustion follows. And often a lot of us are disguising it as resilience, and we're not fooling anybody at all. And I say that because nowadays people are afraid to even use the word burnout because it comes across as weakness. Imagine that. And it's not at all. It's just that people are genuinely, truly overworked and burnt out and just need some balance and some time off. But people are afraid to even use the word because people has framed it as weakness. And people just keep going, and this physical and emotional exhaustion just keeps perpetuating itself over and over. And I think it's just part of this systemic disillusionment, the chase. And don't get me wrong, people, let me just clarify that I understand that people have to work. I mean, a roof over our heads, bills to pay, food to eat. I get it. But at what cost? In the end, at what cost? I mean, I believe that if you believe that the true currency of your life is your happiness, then at best you would pursue both equally, if not just the latter, more so. But I mean, that's just me. But people have no permission to rest. Really. People say it, advocate for it. It's probably even on walls, I'm sure, in some institutions. But the minute you do, you're ridiculed and looked upon as that guy or that gal that can't take the heat, and so they jumped out of the kitchen. And it's so wrong. Always fake holding it together when really we're not. Frustrated, emotionally drained, and thank you guys. I'm sure you thank them too. Emotionally drained, and we fake it. Every single day we step off and fake holding it together. And I get it. This channel is about stepping off into the void that is the universe that offers us no answers, and still do it every day, you know? Modern day Sisyphus is pushing that boulder up the hill knowing it's going to roll back down and we have to do it again tomorrow. But we do it. But I don't think we have to do it at the cost of faking, looking like we're holding it together when inside we're falling apart. And externally too, we're falling apart. But I ask again, at what cost? For those who have families that are still being nurtured in one household, at what cost? Just how much family time do you have? Really? Honestly. And oh, by the way, some of this is self-inflicted wounds, or I should say are self-inflicted wounds. We have to put our kids, and I'm going to poke some buttons here, poke the bear a little bit, but we have to put our kids in the latest thing, the latest sport that may or may not elevate them to professional status we pressure them to study so hard, work hard, study hard, into this mindset that achieving is the only thing, and achievement is good. Going so hard, not so good. Okay? I actually believe working hard, studying hard, training hard in and of itself is not healthy. I believe in not necessarily working harder or training harder. I believe in consistency. You know? Kind of like if you're not good at kicking field goals, right? You don't go trying to put the tee a different way and tilt the ball a certain way and get different cleats. You put the ball on a tee and you kick a lot, over and over. And I know I'm digressing, but we put our kids in these things where they have to work so hard, and then they get burnt out, and then they stress, and then when they don't live up to their peers, it goes back to what I started with the sad effects of thinking not being here is the way out. And because we're alone and so exhausted, it exacerbates the problem. Once again, thank you, gents. I don't mean to laugh and make light of it, but it exacerbates the problem. But every time that I sit with this, I come back to the same question. What's going on? Really? Economic pressure, I get it. How can you not get it? It's everywhere. And not just economic pressure, but economic pressure without dignity. Working harder while falling further behind. Institutions that still move the goalpost as you get a little closer. Hey, look, I know the ball bounces on both sides of the line. I know it. Some of us are blessed, and some of us can sit on our nice chair under our tree and espouse these things. But I lived it. I know that people are working harder and falling behind. And some institutions knowingly just move the goalpost a little further so that it's almost never attainable. Not to mention that the cost of living rises faster than your effort, or so it feels sometimes. And again, me and my wife are blessed. We're blessed, we're fortunate. But the other day she went to the store and bought baking potatoes, and it was either 3 or 4 of them. I think it was actually 3. $15 for, as Sam would say in the Shire, for potatoes. What the hell? $15 for 3 potatoes. So cost of living rising higher than people's efforts, which spins that revolving door back to emotionally and physically exhausted, spin that revolving door that comes back around to isolated, even in a hyper-connected environment. It is all maddening. And then we wonder why people, dare I say, do snap. And I'm not advocating for snapping in any form of that word or context. But for those who are not so inclined to snap, what is their alternative, really? What is their alternative, we would ask. And then feeling quietly ashamed of doing things right when you look around you and you see everybody else getting away with doing things wrong. And you're like, crime and misbehavior does pay. What the heck? white towels, throw them up. I give up because, yeah, feeling guilty for doing the right things because you're still pushing your boulder up the hill and it's rolling back down while the non-Sisyphus among us are living on very flat, leveled ground and sometimes not doing the right things. And you question yourself. Moral stress. We question ourselves. I know I do. And I will admit, I'm in the fortunate group. I mean, if I make any mistakes, me and my wife make any mistakes economically, we could be under the underpass like everybody else. But fortunately, at this point in our lives, we're not. But you just look around you and it's there. $15 potatoes. One of the most basic root vegetables that people sustain themselves on. And then you say, well, Warren, it's where you live, and they had to ship it in, and which is the excuse they use here. And I say it's an excuse because it is used on everything, even things that grow here. Economic pressure, sometimes warranted, sometimes not. But every time that I sit with this, I come back to what's really going on. And I say some of it is self-inflicted wounds, pressuring kids to live up to sometimes unsustainable dreams and goals that you, the parent, us, the parent, can't afford, but we figure we would just hustle harder to make it happen because our thought process is Joe or Jane will make it professionally in this sport or in this professional field from college that they're forced into, and somehow it will reciprocate to us parents in our golden ages. And that's one side of the story. But I think back to how I opened about hearing people say they're fine, but looking around and seeing that that is not the case. It's just all we're broken, but that doesn't mean we can't right the ship. I mean, we are broken, but we can right the ship. We've done it before. For those who can afford homes, some are struggling with making the payments because of the fact everything else is rising. But for the most part, when we talk about housing, that the conversation about housing feels temporary, even when it isn't, because of so many different expenses that competes with mortgages, so people hesitate to purchase a home. Shelter over safety. Do I purchase a home and run the risk of not being able to take care of everything else? Do I not ever buy a home and things just keep rising and the interest rates will never be at a point where I can enter the market? So that's why it says it feels temporary even when it isn't, because you might own a home today and lose it. We've seen that. The housing crisis, we've seen that. Homes that don't feel like roots, You can't really build memories there, true good family memories, because you might be uprooted. Maybe from self-inflicted wounds, but I would gamble and go out on a limb that it's probably, or it stems from this systemic disillusionment that we put ourselves through. We're always one step away from instability. And that's a scary thought. That's actually scary sounding now that it came out of my mouth. Almost chaotic. But yeah, we're always about one step away from instability. Being under the underpass. Putting up a tent on a beach park in a treed area by the overpass. No privacy but safety, right? Because I looked into that. I wondered why most homeless shelters that I saw were either at an overpass or in a tree. Well, the treed area was obvious, but the overpass area, I found out it's for safety. Because even those among us who need our help, we would exploit them. There's no safety even among the poor. It's crazy. But all of us, I think, are just one step away from instability if we don't right this ship. But every time I sit with this, I keep coming back to that question: what's going on? And then you say, Warren, why are you so blue? And it's not that I'm blue. There are good things going on too. Don't get me wrong. I'm the first to tell you, I'm that guy. That there are two sides, more than two sides. I'm definitely not a duality thinker by any stretch of the imagination. There are so many shades of grays between white and black. So many shades of grays, the kaleidoscope. So I'm not one of those that thinks that, but that there are only two sides, or that things aren't better in some places and some areas. But I'm talking about the institutions that were set up to take care of some of these issues, and some of our community members among us feel distant now. They do. And it goes back to what I was talking about. It just bothers me because I think the reason that we're so far removed from each other and taking care of each other is that slow erosion of trust that I talked about earlier. It's just surrounded but unseen. In a super hyper connected world. I just think the band can't keep playing the same song all night. And how do we fix that? We have to just make some choices, because it's all about that. Choices. And I'm not sure what those are, because it's situational, right? Everybody's situation. But I'll tell you this. Happiness is not a destination. Okay? It's not a destination. But in our pursuit to be happier, and if we believe that we are the true writers of our life's happiness, and we believe that the true currency of our happiness, or the true currency of our lives, is our happiness, then we can find ways to right this ship. Because I really do think that hearing people say they're fine is just cover. Because just looking around me, I don't see fine anymore. But yes, if you are truly the scripter of your own life's happiness, then you can slow it down. And I'll give you a few solutions. Slow down a little bit. Just slow it down a little bit. Go outside and walk barefoot in your yard if you have one. And if you don't, and you live close to a park or something, carve out some time. And if you pass someone that gives you the universal greeting of the day, which is usually a smile, smile back. And if they speak, speak back. Slow down. I used to ask my soldiers if they knew why you don't often see advertisings on taxi cabs, but you do on city buses, and some of them get it and some don't. But the point is, taxis are often going so fast that you can't read the ads anyway, so why bother, right? Whereas the city bus is going relatively so slow that you can. The point, just slow the bus down. Slow the bus down. So despite the construction, you can come outside and hear spring being sprung. Feel your toes in grass if you do have it. Or go to your nearest park or somewhere, some greenscape. Do some forest bathing. Just walk out into some green space and just sit there. Yeah, take your book if you have one. Not your digital one. Feel the paper in your hand. So take a tangible book, or a magazine, or nothing. And part of doing that will just slow that systemic disillusionment down so that we're not losing people to isolation and then to their graves. And at such early ages, because most of what's going on where that's concerned, it's not older folks. It's our young people that have gotten to such a point where they're already fed up and they're young with so much left to go. So we can't, like I said, the band can't play the same song all night. We have to right this ship before it's the Titanic. But that's all I wanted to talk about today and share with you guys is just be aware. Be aware, even if you're fortunate. Be genuinely aware of the systemic disillusionment that goes on with other people that are not so fortunate, and how that affects us all as a community. Be that we want to accept that we're a part of that community and do ranking, which paradoxically just puts us in a bad place when we rank anyway. Because once we do that, now we're dependent on somebody staying below. And that just keeps perpetuating the problem. But do your part. If you meet somebody in the park and they say hi universally with a smile or with the voice, respond. Greet your neighbor. You don't have to do the prolonged conversations because I get it. There are Karens everywhere. But call someone and actually talk to them, not text them. Call someone. Have a conversation with someone that you normally do text. Or have a longer conversation with someone within your household that you are so out of time that you only greet long enough to say dinner is served and good night. But that's all I wanted to share. So I'll let you go. But thanks for stopping by and giving me a listening ear. And do take care of yourselves and each other out there. And until our next conversation, I'll see you.